The airing of this program by this station is not an endorsement or recommendation by the station of the products or services discussed in the program. The station does not guarantee the results of any investments made by a listener to this program.
The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network.
This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQLAW. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney, protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. Now, here's Gary.
Welcome to the Word on Wealth, my friends. Happy Tuesday. It's really good to have you along. I'm looking out my window and there's actually some sun. I'm so happy. I thought I was in Washington for a while, but today maybe it looks a little San Diego-esque, but the rest of the week is going to be cold. Oh well, it'll be summer soon enough. We are in our second day of spring. At least that's what the calendar says. Okay, people, if it drives me crazy when people say, "Oh, there's no seasons in San Diego." I miss the seasons. I go, "There's seasons." I mean, like my palm trees in the front of my house, the leaves are all ragged. My banana trees, the leaves are just like beat up. So it's obviously not summer. In the summer, the banana leaves are very big and they're beautiful. In the winter, they're even prettier. So, and then my palm trees are beat up, so it can't be summertime. My lawn's really super green, so it can't be summertime. And there's a couple trees in my yard that lost their leaves. The pine trees didn't, but I know it's winter. I know it's spring, and pretty soon there's a tree or two in each of everybody's yards that tells you it's spring or summer. I don't need snow, 3 feet of snow on the yard and sub-zero temperatures to tell me it's winter. I'm good. I'm totally good. Yesterday, we had a great conversation about talking to our parents and what to do talking to our parents. And these conversations, they come up, and the reason I talk about them on the radio is because I am an attorney and I'm not a radio show host for a living. Pretty obvious. Yeah, I know. But I do legal work. I am an estate planning attorney, and that's what I do. I'm on the radio to share the information that I have. I had a client yesterday who was with me, and she said that she listens a lot to the radio, and she really appreciates me providing an education and information to people so that more people know about wills and trusts and estate planning, and that she believes that I'm doing an important work, which thank you very much. That made me feel really good when you told me that. So I'm really glad to be able to do it and provide information. It is a lot to do every day, but it makes me happy that listeners will respond to me and tell me that it's what they wanted to hear, it's what they needed to hear, and it was helpful. That's my job. That's why I was put here on this planet, is to help you do your estate plan, take care of your business. The motto, the slogan, in the GQLAW is providing essential legal services simply, affordably. And that is what we strive to do. And I think we've been pretty being successful at doing that over the last 30 years. We were talking about dealing with parents and aging parents and how to talk to them and what are the conversations we need to have with them. The flip side of it is, this could be parents saying, "Hey, this is the conversations you need to have with your kids." And we mentioned that we need to have, this isn't the birds and the bees talk. Now that was for a while ago. We're talking about financial, healthcare, aging, end of life, family legacy. I do run into situations, I don't know, I guess disappointed might be the term, but where kids are really impatient with their parents, mad at them, yelling at them, trying to boss them, pushing them around. It upsets me quite a bit because I don't like to see that. I know as we age, things happen a little bit slower, and whether it's moving slower, reacting slower, thinking slower, speaking slower, seeing slower, it just happens. And as children, we need, yes, we're obligated, commanded by our creator to respect our parents. And I think a lot of that is figuring out why things are different. It's like when you had teenagers, you didn't go, "Oh, you're just an idiot, you're a teenager." You had to figure out, why is this kid bouncing off the walls? And why is this happening? And why are they doing poorly in school? Or why are they doing wonderfully in school? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What do we need to do to help? Parents, it's the same thing. It's just, they're not bouncing off the walls, they're slowing down. It just happens. Do you realize that by the time you are 60 years old, your eyes, the lenses in your eyes let in 10% of the light they let in when you were a teenager. Yeah. That's why at night it seems darker than it used to not be perceived so dark. And that's why there's the little flares, the little spark flares around lights that you see coming towards you. And that's why that happens, just because your lens is less clear because it's super old. And that's just the way it works. And, processes go slower. I mean, sound goes in your ear and it just takes a little bit longer to process. And as you deal with, the older we get, the longer it takes to process what we're thinking, the longer it takes to process our thoughts. So be patient with your parents. Please be patient with your parents. Number 2, these are my rules to talk by. We did the rules to, the conversation to have with your parents, but these are the rules to talk by your friend, Gary Quackenbush. Be patient with them. Keep others and family members up to date. Oh man, secrecy, control, influence. If you don't keep your family members up to date on what's going on, then there's this suspicion of secrecy or influence or undue influence and all that. So if you are helping your parents, do certain things like help them with their estate plan or helping them make some decisions, you need to talk to your parents about making that information available to all the siblings, or maybe the parents shouldn't be telling anybody. But you got to be careful, because once your parents pass away, if there's questions on what happened, like why all of a sudden is it the really attentive daughter all of a sudden gets the entire estate, or the really attentive son gets the entire estate, there's going to be suspicion that there's some kind of influence that went on. And that's not a good thing, by the way, not at all. I think in the last part of today, we're going to be talking about that a little bit too. What happens if there is a suspicion of undue influence or, isolation and things like that. Keep notes on what you talk to your parents about. Write it down. Help them understand it. Do not pressure them. Be empathetic and listen and listen and listen. That's the important part. Your parents want to be heard. They want to feel that they are intelligent beings and they can manage on their own, because that's what we all do. From when we were tiny little kids and we were paid 3 cents a window to wash them, or given our allowance, we were trusted to deal with money, deal with finances, deal with numbers. And we've been doing that our whole entire life. And as our parents get older, they lose the ability to deal with their numbers. Now, how would that be? From the time you were tiny, your parents are helping you figure out how to handle money. And as you get older, you can't, because you start to think slower and sometimes you miss things. And that's got to be really, really frustrating. And I know it is, but be patient with your parents. All right. I want to talk about the death of the AB trust. Came up again today in conversation with a client. It's about an AB trust. Like, what about them? What is the deal with an AB trust? Like, what is an AB trust and where do they stand in the kind of realm of estate planning nowadays? Do we do AB trusts or ABC or ABCD trusts? We're going to talk about that a little bit. If you want help getting your estate plan in order, talking about how it works, actually having me do the work, please give us a call at 855-500-TRUST. It is our thing. It's what we love to do. And it is time to get your estate plan done or updated. 855-500-TRUST. Give us a call and we'd be able to help you out. Make sure you mention this show. Tell me what you think. You hate it, you love it, you want something else, you want to know, you want me to talk about something else, give us a call, let us know. We're going to open lines up too in just a minute. I'm going to open lines so that you guys can give me a call and ask your questions. The number is going to be 888-344-1170. 888-344-1170. Get in before we close the lines. We're going to open them up at least until probably for the next 30 minutes. So make sure you give us a call, 888-344-1170. Let's talk about your particular situation and help you out, figure out what you need with your estate plan. This is Gary Quackenbush on the Word on Wealth. Go to my website, GQLAW.com. Coming up next, the AB Trust is dead, or is it still alive?
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQLAW. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLAW.com. You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is faith-based investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christians just don't understand that the money they save for retirement usually helps fund the abortion industry and other liberal anti-family causes. But did you know that with just a few minutes of your time, we can screen and clean your investments at no cost to you? It's absolutely complimentary. Just go to the website right now, download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing. It's free as well. You deserve to know the truth as the investor. Then the choice is yours. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can line up your investments and life savings with your beliefs. We are fiduciary investment advisors. You can feel good about investing with confidence. So learn more now. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com or call me at 931-RETIRED. Your free book is waiting for you. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com and be sure that you listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Call.
So, Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that and why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQLAW and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQLAW. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
All right. So we are having a conversation about the AB Trust. If you've heard of an AB Trust or you want to know more about it, listen up. If you have a question, call us at 855-500-TRUST. Yeah. But if you want to be part of the show, I'm going to open lines. We got lines open right now. It's 888-344-1170 right here on The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. Estate planning. Now, is the AB Trust dead? Question mark. Is the AB Trust dead? What is an AB Trust? An AB Trust, the reason we call it AB, because we just picked the first two letters of the alphabet. It could be alpha beta, alpha gamma, alpha omega, whatever. There are lots of terms for the AB Trust, but AB is basic. So what it means is at the first death. So you have, for example, husband and wife have a joint estate plan, a joint trust, and it says at the first death, certain things happen. And at the second death, other things happen. That's AB. A, you figure, let's say on the first death, so dad dies first, the AB Trust does its initial thing. And the initial thing is it says, take dad's separate property and put it into a locked up irrevocable trust. Also add to dad's trust half of the community property. The survivor, above ground A, not the below ground B, the survivor gets the other half of the community property, the family home, things like that. What it's doing, is multiple fold. One is the AB trust. We used to do them so that they would double the wealth transfer exclusion. Okay, but that is no longer necessary because we don't have to double the wealth transfer exclusion. We have this thing called the deceased spouse unused exemption amount. We call it the DUSA amount. And that can be written into the trust that you have. Now, you don't have to have an AB trust to get the exclusion for both husband and wife. The reason we do AB trust is for blended families. What'd you say? What I said is blended families. Blended families meaning the kids that are in this family, their parents are not the ones that are still married. There may be a prior parent, a prior relationship, something else, but the two people that are doing the joint trust are not the parents, are not the actual parents of the children. Okay, so you have a yours, mine, and ours situation, or a yours and a mine situation. And what you're looking out for is that the person that dies, their children will be taken care of regardless of what the survivor does. Okay, so for example, let's have dad die first. Dad had 2 children, mom had 3, or we'll have to say husband and wife. So husband had 2 children, wife had 3 children, and between husband and wife, there was another one. Okay, so they had the 6 kids. Now, when husband dies, he's going to be concerned that let's say he's concerned that his children would be, that he wants to make sure that they get inheritance from him because he's saved up his money and he loves his children as much as anybody. And he wants to make sure they get some money. He doesn't want to just leave it in the regular family trust with his new wife. Not that he doesn't trust her, but the thing is, if you leave all the money with new wife, then your wife can just spend all the money and not give any to your children, even at the time of her death. Well, that's what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to pass on this legacy from dad, from dad's dad to the kids. And so you set up an AB trust or something similar. The AB trust then takes his portion, like his separate property, whatever that named property is, and sticks it into an irrevocable trust, B, below ground, irrevocable. Okay, then it does not pass to his children until the wife dies. Okay. Now, why don't we just give it to his children? Great question. Because we're still concerned that the surviving wife will need money and will need to dip into some of the money that husband is going to leave to his kids. For example, there's a family home. He's got $1 million in the bank and she's got 500,000. He dies. Now they got $1.5 million in the bank. What he's doing is his $1 million goes into the B trust, and that B trust will provide support to his wife. It can provide health, education, and maintenance. It can provide a limited amount, but not unlimited. So wife can't go in there and get husband's separate money and just spend it like wild, doing everything she possibly can imagine. There's some guidelines onto how much she can spend. And the reason you do that is because you want her to have enough money to survive and to be healthy and happy. Rather than give it to your kids right away, so the stepkids, effectively, stepkids get the money, stepmom doesn't. Instead of doing that, you make it so that the money is available, and what's left over after it's been carefully distributed or used by surviving wife, it goes to the kids. So that's why you put it in a B. Then what happens is on the second death, that's when the A becomes irrevocable. So now we got to figure out what to do when both husband and wife are dead. We have husband's kids, wife's kids, and the combined kids. What are we going to do? So that's when the plan really has to be specific on, okay, everything all pooled together at the end. Is that the way you're going to do it? Or are you going to keep husband's B trust separate and then wife's A trust separate? What are you going to do? So the AB provisions, the AB sections and stuff like that. The reason we do this trust is for blended families, which quite frankly, most families are blended. That's the way it is. So a regular plain vanilla trust is not going to be good enough for a blended family, in my opinion. Okay. You don't have to do an AB trust. We have done tons of trusts where husband wants his own trust and wife wants her own, because they each have their own money and they each can, not be totally independent of each other, but they each have their own money. So you set up a separate property trust for husband, a separate property trust for wife. We've done, joint trust and a separate property trust for each. So we did separate property husband, separate property wife, joint trust for both. And that's one way to sort all the money out. May not be the necessary way to do it. It's a really straightforward way of doing it. That way, when husband passed away, his money just directly went to his kids, his charities, what he wanted to have done with it. It was money that he inherited. There's a lot of different reasons to do that. Another way to do it is in the family trust that you have, you can put in a provision that's called a Q-tip. And part of the one way to do this is like, let's say it's the family home. So you want, husband has the home, husband and wife get married. They live together for a long, long time. Husband dies. We don't want the house to be sold and distributed to husband's children, although we do want a lot of the property to go to husband's children because it was his. You can put a section or provision in there that says that wife, the surviving wife, can live in that house as long as she maintains it, pays the utilities just like normal. She can be in there as long as she wants. And when she abandons, leaves, can't stay in, or just, doesn't want it anymore, the house then goes to the children. That's what you can put these trusts together that have these interests or these properties that can go under certain conditions to somebody else, like to distribute to the kids. Questions on this stuff, you can go to my website, gqlaw.com. And at GQ, it's like my initials, right? gqlaw.com. There's a book called Living Trust Basics. You can go online on my website, look it up. A white book cover says Living Trust Basics on it. You click on the book cover, put in your name and your email address, and you will get a copy. It's 8.5 by 11, 20 pages long. It would be a 40-page book if it were a book, but I wanted to make it easy and free. It's an outline that I put together to talk about this kind of stuff, and I have delivered the message on that to thousands of people around the United States. And now that book outline is yours for free on gqlaw.com. Other ways you can divvy up money with blended families is doing lifetime gifting. Let's say you have lots of money and you want to make sure that your money goes to where you want it to go. So you're going to do lifetime gifting. You may set it up so they're each getting 16. Each kid is going to get $16,000 from you and $16,000 from your wife, and that's going to happen every year to help you reduce the amount of money that's in your estate, so you don't end up with an estate tax. So that's a way you can do it. So got that. There are multiple ways to deal with blended families. I think we would all love to believe that in a blended family situation that one of the spouses could die and the other one would maintain their wishes forever. I'd love to believe that's true. What happens is over the years of time of raising your own children and helping raise your stepchildren, sometimes people tire and sometimes they will remarry, and the remarried person is now another mouth to feed, if you will, and another part of the family. So now there's going to be some money spent on the new person. I'm not saying to not, you shouldn't remarry, anything like that, by no means, but we're trying to make sure that we care for the children, because the deceased person wanted to make sure the children were cared for. So we want to make sure there's some money reserved to go to them, because when mom or dad, the survivor, remarries, now there's going to be another, the person that needs money for health and education and wellness and that type of thing. So those are all things to consider when you're trying to put together a estate plan. It's going to take care of your surviving spouse and then take care of your kids. Depends on how much money you have, what your ultimate desires are, what your spouse can survive on. Those are a lot of the factors that we will go over when we talk about a blended family trust. The number is 855-500-TRUST. All right. So blended family is super important. Next thing I wanted to go over, my little list of things that you need to know. Let's go with family business. All right. So here's kind of a situation, a family business. Dad runs it. He's been doing it for a long time. It's a repair shop, and Dad has loved it. He's done very well. He's made enough money to put a bunch of money in retirement account, which the kids are going to end up getting. They bought a home. They have a little vacation property. So he's done very, very well for himself, but the kids don't want anything to do with his business. They're going, Dad, this is awesome. Congratulations. No, thank you. So what do we do with a family business? If we wait till Dad dies to do anything, when he passes away, who's going to finish the projects that he's working on? who's going to collect the money that needs to be collected? Now, if his spouse is already collecting the money, then that's, that makes it a little more straightforward, but still, when somebody passes away, there's nobody to do the work, nobody to collect the money. And what typically happens is your customers just flee. They just scatter. They got to go somewhere else to get their job done. They may come back to sue you for the balance if you didn't finish paying, putting the work in that you already paid for. Those are some problems you end up facing. But the idea then, with the succession of your business, is to set it up so that even on your death, somebody else will be able to take care of the business and be able to run the business effectively enough so that it can be sold or can be closed down without running into all kinds of problems. So to do that, I think the easiest way, if it's a sole proprietorship and that's all you can do financially, you don't need, if you let's say we looked at it and we said, yeah, you don't really need to be a corporation because of size or your goals, then you could have a sole proprietorship, but you would be doing a bill of sale to your living trust. You literally do a bill of sale that says you sell your business to your successor trustee so they can manage the business in the event of your incapacity or death. Yep. The other way is to incorporate, and we put your trust shares in the trust, or your corporate shares in the trust, or you set up an LLC and we transfer your LLC membership certificates to the trust. So there are ways to do it, get it done right. We're going to talk about that after this really short break here on the Word on Wealth.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at GQLAW.com, 855-500-TRUST. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQLAW.com, 855-5.
You're live.
Hey friends, welcome to the Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush. We're going to get right to the top of the hour. We have lines open, 888-344-1170. I'd love to have you be part of the show and ask me some questions that you have regarding your estate plan, regarding your wills, trust, estate plan, power of attorney. If you have questions about taxes, all right, fine. I'll take those too. 888-344-1170. Next thing. rental property. This comes up all the time. Client meeting with me says, we have had this rental property. We paid, $100,000 for it. It's now worth about $900,000. It's been an awesome rental. It makes, really good money. We're renting this thing out for, $4,500 a month. The taxes are really low because we only paid $100,000 for it. We're able to depreciate it. And I want to have it drafted in my trust that my children must keep the rental property as an income property. Okay. So then I look through it and I say, that's a math question. What do you mean? What I mean by math question is it really matters how that will pencil out. And I try to be careful and explain it is sometimes unfair to require a beneficiary or a trustee for this matter to maintain a piece of property as a rental when it may not make sense. So then we go into the conversation about what's going to happen with your property taxes. Now, Prop 19 made a mess of inherited property, a big mess. There's talk of it being repealed by the Jarvis, Foundation. It's not happening. It hasn't happened. Prop 19, in my opinion, it's here to stay, and we have to deal with it. As much
Gary,
as
we have
hate
a
it.
call on the show.
All right. So we have a caller, and who do we have on the line
Viola,
here?
you're up with Gary Quackenbush here on the Word on Wealth.
Hey, welcome to Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush.
Hi, and I do love your program. I wondered if you could take a question on successor trustees,
Sure.
if they have the authority to ask for address changes for a person that's incapacitated. I'm told I need to have power of attorney, but I am the successor trustee.
Okay, so you're the successor trustee, and you want to get a change of address from the beneficiaries, like their new addresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the lady she's incapacitated and can't sign anything or understand anything. She has dementia, but they want her to request it.
Well, are you officially acting as her? You would be. Let's see. So you are her successor trustee. Has she been determined? Like, has there been like a determination by some doctors that she's incapacitated?
Yes.
Oh.
And I have the letter of certification of trust.
Well, then you have the right to ask for that. You're the successor trustee. You can ask for that because you're acting. See, the successor trustee, it's like a power of attorney for somebody that's incapacitated or even deceased. But yeah, that's the whole job of the successor trustee. You stepped into her shoes as her financial person, as her fiduciary, and you have a right to get that information. Absolutely. If they don't provide it from you, then what, if you need it to give them information, that seems really silly that they're not going to provide you that information. But yeah, you're entitled to that as the successor trustee. You prove that you're the successor, you provide information showing that she's incapacitated, and that's why you're stepping in. Sometimes that's the issue. Okay. So sometimes some agencies will want you to provide, something to say, well, prove to us that you're the successor. And then you provide like a capacity declaration from a doctor that says, yeah, this lady can't make any financial decisions. Then that makes you step in.
All right. Thank you so much. You cleared that up for me.
What's your first name?
Viola.
Viola. Thank you, Viola, for giving us a call.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. This is Gary Quackenbush on the Word on Wealth. And Viola, thank you so much for your call. That was really a wonderful question to ask about successor trustees asking for addresses. We do have lines open still. Another one, if you want to give a call, please give me a call at 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Ask your questions. I'd be happy to answer it for you. What about this situation where there's a rental property and mom and dad really, really, really want the kids to keep the rental property because they bought it with their own money years and years ago, and they paid $100,000 for it. Now it's worth $900,000, and they really want to put in the trust that the kids have to keep that property as a rental. And by the way, there are 3 children. So the thing that happens, you can imagine, is I say it's a matter of math. It's a calculation. You have to figure out, will it make money? And parents think, well, of course it'll make money. We've been making money on this thing for ages. Well, that's the problem. Okay. When they pass away, and their kids become the owners of this property, it's not, it's a commercial property. Okay. It's not the parents' principal residence. So therefore, under the new Prop 19 rules, as soon as parents die, that property gets reassessed. It steps up and the fair market value of that property goes up to, the assessment for property tax purposes steps up to fair market value. Okay, so that property that they bought for 100,000, the property taxes are based on that plus the Prop 13 increases, and now it's probably worth $150,000 on property tax rolls. Well, when mom and dad died, now you got that $900,000 property. The property taxes just went up from $2,000 a year to over $10,000, probably closer to $11,000 or $12,000 a year. So now does it make sense to keep it as a rental? With the age of the roof and the maintenance and all that stuff, that's one thing to consider. So here's the thing. If now it looks like, we have to split the rent, we have to split the income 3 ways, and then it's this big piece of property. We have property taxes that are now they're $11,000 or $12,000 a year. That makes it so that the net profit coming into that rent is really not that high. Are the beneficiaries willing to keep it? And they can make that decision. The opposing to that, the reason you may want to consider selling it is, which is what some of the kids do, is you may consider, well, what about if I sold it? What's the opposite? Well, once mom and dad pass away, that house gets inherited by the kids. The sales, the capital gains tax on that property is based on a new basis. And the basis, the new basis, the new tax basis for sales purposes of this property is fair market value at the date of death. Okay. So if mom and dad bought the house for 100, they've depreciated it for the last 15 years. Their basis, mom and dad's basis, was probably close to 0. And if they sold the property, mom and dad did, they would have to pay capital gains on 100% of the proceeds. Well, now that kids have the property after mom and dad have died, the basis, the tax basis of that property increases and gets reset to fair market value at the date of death. So if the kids sell it, how much are the capital gains taxes? They're 0. All right, so you got to make that choice, kids. $900,000 house. Property taxes are now over $1,000 a month. But if you sold the property, there's 0 tax. So do you want the $900,000 divided by 3? You each get $300,000. You can invest it, put it in whatever. I don't know how much money you're going to make. I'm not here to say. We can talk to Anthony Wright about that on Thursday when he comes on as our guest. But is that enough? Can you take the $300,000 and invest it and get your share that would be equivalent to your 1/3 of your rent? So those are the big questions, and that's what happens. So a lot of times when we're trying to set up a trust and say, yeah, this is the family rental property, we want to keep it in the trust. When mom and dad are the only ones receiving the money, and the risk of selling it was really high because of the the cost of selling would be really high because the property capital gains tax.
2 minutes.
Capital gains taxes don't exist for the kids. That's a big difference. So you might want to consider. So I just look at it as math, and I would say probably 95% of the time, or even higher, what I see is the kids decide it doesn't make any financial sense for them to keep it together. For one is they're now partners with each other. And then what happens when one of the partners dies? Does it go to the partner's children? So now the other 2 siblings are partners with your children, with their niece and nephew. And now it's 1/6 to each of those. How does that work? And a lot of times it just doesn't make good sense with math. So you got to do the math, figure out how that works. And if you're putting together your trust and hoping the kids keep it as a rental, we can put language like that. Is your hope and desire that we keep it as a rental? And the other thing is, just talk to them about it. Say, look, this is what we really want from you guys. But the bottom line is it's going to be an economic decision. Just be economics, once you pass away. And it's nothing to really be that upset about. And if you don't want your kids to get the money, you think they're going to waste it, then give it to a charity where they're going to do what you want them to do with it. And so those are some choices you could make. You want to help, you want me to help you out with that? Put together your estate plan, take care of the business for you. The number to call is 855-500-TRUST. It's what we do. It's what I do. You'll get a free initial consultation if you call and say you're a listener to the show. Free initial consultation with me. What? Yeah, for sure. 855-500-TRUST. Okay, coming up next. What about buyouts? I want to buy out my siblings. That's what I think would be the good thing. Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail on how that works. How can you buy out siblings out of a piece of property in the trust? Coming up next, right here on The Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQLAW. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
Gary, your team at GQ Law are experts at solving IRS and state tax problems. Talk about that.
When people have a tax problem, it tends to really stress them out. And one of the things we've been able to do is figure out how to resolve tax problems. One thing we might be doing is setting up a payment plan or getting a collection delay, maybe getting a determination that the person shouldn't have to pay the taxes at all. We do offers and compromise. We do audit reconsiderations. And one of the things that's a really powerful tool that some people don't recognize is sometimes bankruptcy can be used to actually eliminate taxes when there's certain conditions of the code that are met. So we can do all kinds of things after we analyze your situation. We can figure out what's available, discuss your options, and figure out which ones to implement, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. And we can get people out from under all kinds of tax problems so they can sleep again. That's our goal.
Request your free initial consultation. GQLaw.com. 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
Spring is here and there are still people with long-term COVID.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
All right. So good to have you along here on The Word on Wealth. Tonight on the Andrea Kay show on this on KCBQ, I'm going to be with Andrea Kay at 7:00. You can hear me talk about some fun things that Andrea always likes to talk about. Some news you can use segment. She has me come on to her show for that. So that's going to be tonight at 7 KCBQ. Then tomorrow we've got Ken Pecos, and he is this incredible real estate guy. Ken, you've heard him in the past, and we'll be able to ask him about how things are going in the market and what's going in the housing market and some of the houses that he has for sale, which is really super fun to talk about. We'll be able to answer your questions on Thursday. We've got Anthony Wright with Bible Safe Investing, how to invest your money, what to do when the market moves around like it has. Had a good day today on the market, which is really wonderful. But I want to ask him about Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank and what's going on with that. And, was it Swiss Bank Swiss. I want to ask him about those things. So it'll be fun to get his opinion on how that should affect us. And should we be now terrified that the sky is falling? Should we stick everything under our mattresses? Or what should we be doing with our money? I want to know personally how much money I should be keeping in banks and or what are the things I can be doing with it. That's going to be Thursday. on Friday. We always have wonderful, wonderful guests for you on Friday. And this Friday is no exception. It is our Finding Joy Friday. And we are going to be on with the guests that we've had before. And totally spacing. I know, like, really, Gary. But anyway, we have good guests on Friday. And so if you listen up, you're going to be able to hear from her and find out about, how do you deal? Big question I have for Callie Logan. She's got a new book, and I have a big question for her on what are we doing with the freak out, the markets going crazy, and we get notification that this bank is going into receivership or being forced to do this by the FDIC. It's like, how emotionally, what should we be doing? Is freak out? Is it time to freak out? Or what are ways we can deal with it and manage it? I always love to ask our mental health professionals that, because that's what our Friday show is about. All right. Buying out siblings. If you want questions answered, let me answer your question. If you've got a question about buying out a sibling out of an estate plan, maybe mom and dad have passed away, you're trying to figure out, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? How does it work? 888-344-1170. Let's take your call. We've got lines open right now for you to call 888-344-1170. Buying out siblings is always a fun challenge because let's take an example. In this situation, there were 3 kids, and they really want their money. The house is worth about $900,000, and they just want their money. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Let's say one estate is $3 million. Mom and dad left $3 million. Congratulations, $1 million for each kid. And one kid in particular wants the rental property, and the rental property is worth about $900,000. Now, somebody asked me a couple of days ago, so well, how is that determined? I said, we get an appraisal. Who pays for the appraisal? It doesn't matter. We get more than one appraisal. And if the beneficiaries agree to the dollar amount of the appraisal, then that's the number that we use. They can get their own appraisals. They can use the appraisal that we have, whatever. If they establish a value, they do it by agreement. And when they do, in this estate that, let's say, is $3 million, I know that's huge, but it happens, especially with real property. One kid wants the real property. The other kids don't. What do? Well, you divide everything up, and lo and behold, $900,000 value established goes to that child in the form of the title to the house. So we transfer the house to that child. That's their $900,000 inheritance. Now we still have $2.1 million. So that child is not only going to get $900,000, they're going to get $900,000 plus $100,000 in cash. The other 2 siblings are going to get $1 million. Okay, fantastic, good for them. That's the easy one. What about the hard one? What about 2 siblings want to buy the house and they don't want to buy it together? What do you do now? That gets tougher. Rare situation, but what happens then is the successor trustee is going to have to make a decision. All right, you guys, bid on the property. Okay, if you want to buy it out, if you want to both, you want to both buy the property, then I want you to bid on it and work out some type of arrangement and see which one wants to pay more, and is it really worth it for them to both be owners. If they decide to buy it together because they do want to buy it together, fine. If they don't want it to buy it together, then the successor trustee is going to have to be the one that makes that decision that says nobody's buying this property. It's going for sale. If you want to buy it, go get in line at the, on the MLS, and you get in line like everybody else, and you can buy your heart out. You can buy it if you want. The 2 of you can buy it, but you're going to have twinner bids. It's not going to happen. So it's going to go on the market. That's the way to do it. And the third way is, let's say the estate is, we got a $900,000 property and the estate's about $1 million. So that's all there is. Effectively, the house is all we've got. If that's the case, how does this one sibling buy out the others? They have to go get financing, and the financing is complicated, but possible. And if you want help with that, we've got real estate mortgage guys, James Carmody, friend of mine, he does mortgages. He could help you. We have some other people that we are connected with that we can get you help. Okay, the way that works is the sibling that wants to buy the other ones out, they go and they finance the home. They go and get enough money to buy out the two. So let's just say the numbers, $900,000 value. He's inherited 300,000. So what does he have to pay? He's got to come up with $600,000. So he goes to a lender, says, here's what's going on. I'm buying out my siblings. I need $600,000. And this is the house that I'm going to have.
Got another
Well-
caller, Gary. We have Victoria from San Diego on what you're talking about right now.
All right. Victoria from San Diego. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. How you doing,
Hi,
Victoria?
Gary. Good. Love listening to you. Thank you for the program. My question to you is that I am going to be inheriting a property, a single family home, together with my brother, and one of us would like to own it and keep it. The other would like to basically sell it, and liquidate it for cash. The other sibling would like to keep it and use it as like a rental property. My question is, how do you facilitate that in those cases? And it's in a trust.
Okay, yeah. So the successor trustee has the ultimate authority on what's going to happen with the property. So if you look in the trust, does it say that basically all the property goes half and half? I mean, whatever the trust estate is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then, I mean, ultimately, if it can't be decided or agreed upon who's going to, get that piece of property, then the successor trustee could just say, we're just going to sell it because that's the only way we're going to be able to work through this thing. And a lot of times the successor trustee is going to be the one that wants to buy it out, or maybe the one that doesn't want to buy it. So
Okay.
the whole thing is, Victoria, is it needs to be, it needs to be trued up, or it needs to be even. So if the property, if it's, you and your brother, you figure out the value, you agree on an appraisal, you agree on the tax consequences, like what is the real net value of that property? And then you can come to an agreement that says, okay, I will pay you, it's an $800,000 house. I'll pay you $375 because, there's a lower cost of sale. You just kind of come out with a calculation and you both agree to it. Then it's easy. Then you just got to go, well, if there's no other money in the estate, you're going to have to borrow money against the house to buy out your brother, or vice versa.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's good because the property itself needs a lot of work. It's not worth market value currently, but it would need, probably about 150,000 to bring it up.
Oh, wow.
So I guess, do you, get it appraised at its, at the current rate, or what it will be, when it's completed with
2 minutes.
grades and changes?
Oh, no, it's the current value. It's the data.
Okay.
You're going by the current value of the property, and it's not, if the trust wants to sell it, the beneficiaries are going to go ahead and let the trustee do their job and sell that property. The trustee is only going to put in enough money to make it so that it's more marketable. But, you don't, as a trustee, you don't go and spend a bunch of money doing a remodel to get it up to, market value. You don't do that. You do enough to, to get it so that it's more attractive and you can sell quicker, but you don't spend a lot of money on it. So what you're going to do, it's got to be done by agreement, Victoria. That's the thing. And it's a matter of, if one of you gets an appraisal and the other one says, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Well, appraisals are very different. Depends on why you got it and what you're trying to get. And if you're saying, no, we want to know what's the current market value of this property, what would it sell for today if we put it into like a 60-day escrow or something like that? And then you guys work out a deal.
Okay. Okay. That sounds fair. Yeah, because we want to be fair. It's not like, one's trying to take advantage of the other. I'm trying to figure out the process.
And you guys can agree to anything. I mean, you literally can say, yeah, look, here's the Redfin value and here's the Zillow value and here's this whatever. Let's just say it's worth X amount of money. Are you cool with that? Let's figure out now how to get the financing. And then whoever's going to buy it could potentially qualify for financing. You just finance it right in the trust. And that's a little more tricky, but we can refer you to a guy that will do it for you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Gary.
All right. Thanks, Victoria, for being part of the show. We appreciate you guys being along today here on the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. Tomorrow, we've got Ken Pecos of the Pecos Group. It's going to be talking about real property and real estate. We'll get into a little bit more of what we talked about today with Ken. If you want to get a hold of me, easiest way, go to my website, gqlaw.com, gqlaw.com. There's a contact us form and free materials on the website. It's been great to be with you. Talk to you tonight on Andrew K at 7. You guys have a great rest of your day. This is Gary Quackenbush on the Word on Wealth.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995, with financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The